Your daily dose of sports talk is here. Highlights, interviews, and analysis. From the entertainment capital of the world, SportsWrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and great to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of the show with so much to talk about over the next 60 minutes. Sam Yarnell will be here, our friend, confidant. Talk about some baseball with him coming up in 10 minutes. Red Sox make it 14 wins in a row. Second longest winning streak in franchise history. Stands by itself now. And what's going on with Jacob Misiorowski? Is it time to worry? 4 innings, 67 pitches. Pat Murphy says they're going to sort of ramp him back up after they ramped him down going into the All-Star break. We'll talk about that, Tarik, Skubal, and a whole bunch more. Later in the show, Robin Lundberg stops by to talk about the WNBA as they approach the All-Star break with a ton of questions to answer about the league, about the games, about playoff chases, the trade deadline, you name it. We will have all of that covered coming up a little later on. Greg Sankey making some interesting comments representing the SEC on Monday at Media Days. Is it a lot of bluster? Or is there a real possibility that the SEC, maybe even the Big Ten, break away from the NCAA and do their own thing? We'll get into that coming up a little later on. Plus odds and ends, a little bit of Messi and a little bit of LeBron. But we start things out as we always do on this Tuesday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story is presented by the Daily Wrap, our Substack newsletter. Monday through Friday, the daily Substack newsletter is available. The Daily Wrap from SportsWrap with Jason Page. Just do me a favor. Scan the QR code right there and subscribe, and you'll get it for free every afternoon. In a world where you got to pay for everything, it feels like, you get an ice cream and you got to tip the person behind the register. No. We're giving it to you for free for now. Go and subscribe to the SportsWrap daily newsletter, the Daily Wrap, available over on Substack. We appreciate it. All right, big news today out of the world of media. And I know it's something a little different to start with, but NFL training camps, you got rookies just starting to report. We're going to get into the NFL and the college football and the media days, and we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in baseball. There's a lot of different things going on. A lot of us watch television, and a lot of us consume what goes on at ESPN, whether we like it or not. Some watch more than others. I watch less than others. There's just not a lot there that I particularly am fond of. But it is undeniable that it is still the worldwide leader in sports. So when you get a round of layoffs there, we're always just watching the ticker to see who's being let go. And it's kind of sad that we live in a world where we have to do those things because these are people's lives, livelihoods, livings. You bought a home, you bought a car, and all of a sudden you find yourself out of a job. I've worked in situations where I've been laid off. I've worked in situations where I've been fired. It happens in this industry. They say you haven't worked in this industry long enough until you've been fired 3 times. I thankfully can say I have worked long enough in this industry, but I've also been in situations where I've been simply laid off because of a numbers game. And that happens. That's what's going on right now at ESPN. You may have heard the news yesterday of Ryan Clark's demise, professionally speaking, at ESPN. Then, and we'll get into that in a second. Then there was the news today of Karl Ravech, who's been at the network for 33 years. Long stint on SportsCenter, and then he was Baseball Tonight, play-by-play for baseball. Been there forever. He gets let go. And then Tom Pelissero, who used to work for NFL Network and NFL Media, he gets let go. And again, that's the numbers game because you've got all these ESPN NFL guys and gals, and you've got all the NFL Network guys coming over and meshing and sort of joining forces with ESPN because of the big sale that took place between ESPN and NFL Network. There was no place left for Tom Pelissero, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's the only person on the NFL beat that gets let go. But he is out of a job. And that's part of what's at play here. In the case of Karl Ravech, ESPN made it clear they weren't doing baseball anymore. They're getting out of the baseball business to a degree. Yeah, do they have a game on during the week? Sure they do. Do they need to pay Karl Ravech as much as they're paying him to continue to work on Major League Baseball when they've made it clear they've sort of ceded that space to companies like NBC, who have decided to jump back into that game? You've got Netflix that started to jump in. The Home Run Derby was there this year. The opening game of the baseball season was there. No. So unfortunately, Karl Ravech was expendable. The most interesting one is Ryan Clark, because we all know what's gone on with Ryan Clark over the last couple of years at ESPN. High profile, and look, when you shoot for the moon, sometimes you come up short and it's a long way down. And that's sort of what happened here with Ryan Clark. He had some notable instances where he said things that rubbed people the wrong way. How many times on social media have we had to read apologies from Ryan Clark over the last couple of years? That said, I think he's immensely talented when it comes to talking about the NFL. But the fact of the matter is, eventually, because of the way ESPN has spent money, you have to wonder, is it just going to be Mike Greenberg, Pat McAfee, and Stephen A. Smith? And everybody else is just kind of feeding off of the sides. Because when you build a network and build it so heavily around two guys, and Greeny's been there a long time sort of as the third, that's sort of what your network becomes. And you're still trying to get play-by-play rights and pay for those. And you're still trying to, maintain talent and all of these different things in this changing landscape with women's sports becoming more popular now. And where do you air those things? What's going to be most interesting to me to watch here over the next year or two is what happens to Ryan Clark. Because we've seen a number of people either get let go by, or leave of their own volition ESPN. And we've seen in those instances, those people sometimes can flourish and become huge stars on their own, independent of the ESPN platform. Is Ryan Clark one of those guys? That's what I'm anxious to learn. Because he thinks he's one of those guys that can go off and do it on his own and be a star. He's about to find out. And he may or may not be successful. I'm not here to judge one way or another whether I think that's going to happen. Because maybe he gets scooped up by another network. Maybe FS1 jumps in. I don't think so, but you never know. But now he's about to find out what it's like. And he's already been doing stuff outside of ESPN in his own space. But are people going to flock to that space to see what he has to say? That's the ultimate test. Do they want to watch you when you're not part of the platform? Is it the platform or is it the talent? Ryan Clark is about to find that out. We're going to talk baseball. My man Sam Yarnell is here. We'll get to it next. Welcome back to the show. I've had my say in the big story. Switch gears, talk some baseball. Sam Yarnell is back. That's all I got. It's Tuesday. That's it. Goodbye, everybody. Let's talk baseball, Sam Yarnell, and in particular, the Red Sox. Not my Red Sox. I'll take ownership of the Pirates. I'm not taking ownership of the Red Sox because I am a Yankee fan. But I did say they were going to get hot, and they have stayed hot. 14 in a row after another wild win last night. And when the Red Sox go on to win the World Series this year, you can blame the Yankees because they got swept in a 4-game series by the Red Sox, which started this whole damn thing 3 some odd weeks ago. Sam Yarnell, they now have the second longest winning streak in franchise history. They're a game away from the longest win streak in franchise history. But I will note that every team that goes on one of these streaks during the course of a baseball season never wins a championship. I can go back to the A's. I can give you the Rockies. Go back and look. Teams don't win championships when this happens. It's a nice story during the season. Maybe they make the playoffs. They're not winning a World Series. That's all I'm saying.
Except for the one that did 7 years ago, right? We've seen this happen in the very recent past, and it's very dangerous. Listen, to say the Red Sox have just gotten hot would be a gross understatement.
No,
this team has gone on a franchise-altering win streak. It truly is. They were going to sell everything at this trade deadline, and then they won 14 14 games in a row. This is crazy. This is the kind of stuff that doesn't happen in baseball. This is why, and the last time they were on a win streak this long was like the 1800s or something. It's the second longest win streak in, like you said, Red Sox franchise history. One of the oldest teams in baseball. Yeah. No, it is absolutely incredible what this Boston team has been able to do, rallying around Chad Tracy, rallying around, even Wilson Contreras, who's become, quite the controversial figure in the baseball world. They've rallied around that guy, and it has been truly impressive to see. The Red Sox are going to make a problem for somebody in the postseason. They're going to make a massive problem for somebody. And, listen, like I said, right? The last time we saw this is exactly what happened. That Sparky team who started out the season horribly to the point where we were talking about them selling off pieces at the deadline, 19-31 to start the season for the record, came back and rattled off, I think it was 11 straight for the Nationals in 2019, but they came back and they won the World Series because of it. They beat down the monsters in the playoffs on the way to the World Series. When you're talking about the Dodgers and you're talking about, teams like the Brewers in 2019, the Red Sox will have to do the same thing. They'll have to go through the Rays. They'll have to go through, probably one of the Yankees or Guardians, assuming they get through whoever wins the AL Central and whoever wins the AL West. We'll just put it like that. This is a team that could make some noise, man. I'm putting in a light ticket on the Red Sox to win the World Series right now.
Well, it's the American League, so anybody who gets in is capable. If you listen to all the baseball people I talk to on the show, they'll all tell you that if you just get in the American League, you've got a shot to wind up in the World Series. So, from that perspective, I'm not, I'm not counting anything out. By the way, on the Red Sox, you can get them right now at 25-1 to win the World Series. Plus 2,500 right now on the Red Sox to win the World Series. Yeah? It's
a little light. I would have liked it. It was probably a little heavy. It was obviously a little heavier about a week ago.
9-1 to win the AL East, by the way.
Oh, I don't. The AL. No, I don't think no one's catching the Rays. Let's call a spade a spade. No one's catching the Rays. The Rays are playing the best. Have been playing the best baseball in that division all season. No one's going to catch the Rays. I don't think they'll win the division. I think they've got a real shot to win the pennant, maybe even win the World Series.
No one will catch. You don't think the Yankees could catch the Rays? They're 3 games behind them. Are you crazy?
Yeah, Jason, you being the Yankees fan, no, the Yankees have not been playing good baseball.
No,
lately.
This is their typical mid-season swoon. And they still don't have Aaron Judge, who they will get back.
They will not.
Yes, they will. Aaron Judge is not going to be out the entire season.
It's almost August. He can't even begin baseball activities. That's a hard work you got to do to get him ready by even October.
Judge will be ready. Judge will play again this season. I will definitely go out and say that. If there's a bet on that, take the yes.
During the regular season?
I don't know about the regular season. I'm not so sure. Jacob Misiorowski, it's funny. We had Bob Nightingale on last week, and he said that this was all part of the plan. Not having him start that last game before the All-Star break, not having them start in the All-Star game. They know what they're doing. There's no reason to worry. And then I see him throwing 60-something pitches and getting lifted after 4 innings last night. And I'm going, something doesn't add up here. Because if this was all part of the plan to ramp somebody down and then have to ramp them up again, and he's your Cy Young Award favorite, something doesn't fit here for me, Sam.
Yeah, with regard to the Misiorowski thing, listen, enjoy it while you can. Obviously, obviously it was the plan for him to sit that last start. I think they telegraphed that a week out when people started saying, hey, we're going to get Misiorowski versus Skeens in the game before the All-Star game. Everyone's going to watch. They moved the game time up, and then Pat Murphy came out and said, guys, Jacob Misiorowski's not guaranteed to start in that game. And that was like a week before the game started. You kind of got the idea. Yeah, obviously that was the plan. What's not the plan and what was never the plan for the Milwaukee Brewers is to have on pace to Jacob Misiorowski eclipse over 2.5 times what he's ever pitched in the major leagues before. Listen, enjoy it while you can. I'll say it as many times. It is so fun to watch the kid pitch. I do not believe he is going to be able to do it for a long time. I've listened to a lot of smart baseball people tell me I've listened to a lot of smart baseball people tell me, enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
You are not going to be able to enjoy it for a very long time.
Nope.
And if that's what it is, that's what it is. But I'm happy we get it now, and, I'll just cross my fingers that we can see it again next season.
Here for a good time, not a long time. Tarik Skubal, everything going on with that situation. You've got Hinch out there and the Tigers organization basically saying every game's like a seventh game right now for this team as they try to figure out what to do with him. In the final 30 seconds of the segment, Sam, will Tarik Skubal be with them after the trade deadline? This week's version answer is...
Oh, this is an absolute joke of a situation, Jason. And the Tigers have absolutely bollocksed it. I mean, you cannot botch a situation the way the Tigers have really botched this situation. And now Skubal's going to not pitch very much the rest of the season, would be my guess. The Tigers will play themselves out of the playoffs, and he'll walk in free agency. The Tigers have absolutely blown the roof off of this. They could have done so much better. You blew it, Detroit.
Everybody's going to hold them over the barrel because... what are the options? Let him walk in free agency or trade him for less than what you could have gotten for him originally. We're coming back. Lots more to do. Robin Lundberg on the WNBA next. Welcome back to the show. We've talked some baseball. Now let's talk some WNBA. A little college football coming up later on in the show as well. Odds and ends, we'll get into the soccer. Messi going to take a break. Let's bring in Robin Lundberg. No breaks for Robin Lundberg. On SI, women's basketball insider analyst, the Robin Lundberg Show on YouTube. He is a busy man. Also Sirius XM radio as well. You can find him there on various channels. There's too much to keep up with, Robin. Do you have a day of the week where you do nothing?
No. I have days where I try to take the afternoon or the evening easy, I guess. But a day off is a foreign concept to me. That's something I'm actively working on. I have to figure out the proper balance there.
Doesn't work in this world that we live in these days. Also, I know you're hyped. We got SummerSlam this weekend as well. So there's all sorts of good stuff going on right now in the Robin Lundberg world. Look at why that look.
Well, it's All-Star Weekend this weekend in WNBA. I'll be in Chicago and then it's SummerSlam next weekend.
Right, okay,
and I'll be doing stuff on Busted Open Radio around SummerSlam.
So you are going to Chicago. I actually was going to ask you that. You're headed to Chicago?
Yeah, on Thursday morning. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Before we get into the All-Star game, which I'm going to spend a couple segments with you, so I'll get into that a little bit more. Couple of things I want to talk about. The Sandy Brondello incident, first and foremost, because a lot of people have obviously been talking about this. And what was interesting was sort of, the reaction depends on where you sit. Should she have said it? No. But in doing the research about it, it is something that is used as a term in Australia. I don't think she meant it in a racist way. And at the same time, while Angel Reese felt like she said, "Oh, I accept the apology and I appreciate Sandy reaching out," she felt like she was far more in the camp of, we've got to tamp down racism, we have to tamp down this language, this rhetoric. Did I read it wrong?
No, I don't think so. And yeah, I think that's the issue for me is more the stigma than the suspension, right? If you want to issue the suspension because you don't say that about a player, period, regardless, but intent does matter. And you know what sucks? Being labeled a racist when you're not one, right? And that is something that nobody seems to be discussing or talking about in any context. And with Angel, yeah, I mean, she said she appreciated the apology. That's fine. She said she appreciated the WNBA acting. That's fine. But then she went on to talk about how there's no place for discrimination and racism in the league, which as a blanket statement, 100% agreed, 100% concur. But it seems to still apply that to Sandy Brondello when I don't even think the matter of intent is in question. Clearly, she did not mean it as a racist remark. So for somebody who spent, decades in the WNBA, who has carried herself a certain way, to then be labeled in this way, it kind of sucks. I mean, there's no other way around.
it sort of fits into this narrative that the WNBA right now just can't get out of its own way from an off-the-court perspective in terms of some of the storylines that we're seeing. Instead of being able to talk about the stuff on the court, which I will do with you in the next segment, it seems like it all fits into this narrative that the league can't get out of its own way, whether it's Dan Patrick criticizing and going after Kathy Engelbert, something we have obviously talked about on this show and I have commented on, to the Caitlin Clark thing. It feels like the league, again, the narrative is it can't get out of its own way, yet it still seems to be successful.
Well, it's definitely successful. I mean, that's what's mind-boggling to me is the narrative of the league in reality versus the narrative of the league in social media and in headlines, right? Like, because the narrative of the league in reality, it's not even a narrative. The story of the league is that there are record ratings, there is record growth, there is record attendance. They just inked a CBA that saw the biggest pay raise in the history of sports. Franchise valuations are through the roof. They've got great players all over the place. Olivia Miles has been absolutely stellar. That should be a huge storyline. Caitlin Clark has a career high the other night. Her teammate Kelsey Mitchell is killing it. There's so much good there. What I think happens too often is that the fringe of social media is allowed to dictate the majority mainstream coverage. I think the players have helped facilitate that. I think the media has helped facilitate that. But I don't think in any other league is the comment section dictating the coverage the way that we see in the WNBA.
That's a great point you bring up, that it does feel like and you know what? I'll admit I'm probably guilty of it in some way, shape, or form by seeing the comment section sort of dictate the way I start this conversation with you, which will take me into Caitlin Clark, which is another big part of the comment section. Her ability to stay healthy, the way she's being guarded, the way she's being officiated. Now that we've sort of, settled into the midway point of this season, is there any sense that the league is able to get their arms around this in terms of trying to figure out how to officiate arguably the best player in the league?
Well, you see Caitlin get short with the officials a lot, right? And she just
Luka Doncic like.
Yeah. She just picked up a technical the other day. And basically the recurring theme when she's getting these technicals is her getting up screaming, call it, right? Like that's more or less the mantra. But what I have noticed, and I'm sure Kathy Engelbert will address the officiating at All-Star and address this specifically, but what I have found noteworthy is it seems like a weight has been lifted around the Indiana Fever. I don't know if it was Caitlin Clark's game the other night. In fact, I think it probably was, because that was just one of those performances that, you can't front on. You have to be like a hater of the nth degree to actually hate on what she did on the court there. And you could just see it around the team and around her teammates and even around her. And this latest controversy, it doesn't involve them, so I think I'm hoping it will sort of take care of itself naturally and organically as the season plays out, as long as there's not like a high profile incident involving the officiating, involving Caitlin Clark and involving another player, because it seems like the Fever are rolling right now. It seems like the Fever are enjoying what they're doing right now. Caitlin Clark is getting back to health and back to her full minutes, and the direction is pointed upwards for that team.
Robin Lundberg is hanging out with us on SI. He does a great job on women's hoops, also on SiriusXM, Mad Dog Radio, Busted Open, all of the different platforms they have over there for him as well. We've got more to do with him on the other side, more from around the WNBA, second half questions and more. Don't go anywhere. This Tuesday edition of the show continues. We're talking WNBA with Robin Lundberg on SI. You can check out his work on women's hoops there. Also, SiriusXM Radio, Mad Dog Radio, Busted Open, Robin Lundberg YouTube channel. He's got everything going on. The Golden State Valkyries. I mean, what an embarrassment of riches, to walk in as an expansion franchise and do what they've been able to do. Last year, right there as a playoff team, exciting, sold-out crowds every night out there at Chase Center. And then this year, a defensive juggernaut. I watched what they did last week against Indiana, which impressed the hell out of me. I watched that game from start to finish. Is what they have for real in terms of, can they contend for a championship? And if not, what do they need and potentially go get next week at the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I think they can. I don't think there's much difference between the top teams in the league. I think there is a grouping of teams that are on the same level. Obviously, the Aces from last year, the Valkyries, the Minnesota Lynx, Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream in that mix. And the Valkyries, specifically, what they really do well, the Dallas Wings, another team I think you could mention, they defensively, yes. And you said embarrassment of riches. I mean, this is something that they've cultivated, though, right? Like, Natalie Nakase is a heck of a coach.
Oh, she's fantastic.
They did a good job scouting overseas. They've even done a good job like developing. Caitlin Chen, who's been a key contributor for them, was cut from them last year, then brought back. Gabby Williams was the big marquee free agent signing, and she's been tremendous. Veronica Burton's a really good player. So, I mean, I think defensively that travels anywhere. They can stifle teams that way. They shoot a lot of threes, so depending on how hot they are, they can win or lose a game. The thing they're missing is like shot creation in the half court. When things get slowed down, they don't have that one player that you really get the ball to and can cook and can bail you out in specific situations. And I don't know if that said player is available per se at the trade deadline versus maybe after this season when a lot of players are free agents again because they sign short-term deals. But nonetheless, I would certainly consider the Valkyries in the mix just because of how stellar they are on the defensive end.
You said, a grouping of teams at the top. You don't feel like Minnesota has separated themselves from the rest?
No, not really. I mean, I think when they get Nafisa Collier back, maybe we'll see how that goes once they get Nafisa Collier back. But you could certainly call them the best team and say that they're the favorite, but I don't think it's by any sort of heavy margin. Or look, they were just in a tough one with the Seattle Storm last night, right? So I don't consider them far and away better than everybody else. I do think, yes, right now, if you're saying who's the best team in the WNBA, who should be the pick to win it, it's the Lynx, but I don't think it's the Lynx in everybody else.
You mentioned Dallas and Paige Beckers briefly, sort of what they've been able to do in her second season. AZ Fudd in her rookie season has assimilated nicely, it feels like, into that team. A lot of people questioned that pick at the top of the draft, back when we had the WNBA draft. Give me a sense for where you think Dallas fits into this picture and maybe what they do. They have a weak schedule in the second half. A lot of people have pointed to that as something that could help them in terms of seeding, which will obviously be important. Give me your sense on Dallas right now.
Yeah, I think the question with Dallas is, can they stop anybody? Offensively, they're very, very potent. I mean, you have Paige, but also Jessica Shepard. AZ Fudd and Paige Becker get all the attention. Jessica Shepard is probably the single biggest signing or right up there in the offseason. Now, they also signed Alana Smith, who has not worked out to the same degree, but Shepard has 3 triple-doubles, I think, on the year so far. She's a great facilitator as a big as well. She works really well complementary with Paige Beckers, who's tremendous, of course. They've got the new coach in Jose Fernandez. So I think the way that Dallas is able to spread you out, is able to score, is able to move the basketball and find good shots is up there with the best in the league. The question is, when things get tight and they're in a playoff series and they're against another team of that caliber, are they able to get stops? It's sort of similar to the Indiana Fever in that regard.
I was on a show out here yesterday in Las Vegas on a TV show. We were talking about the Aces briefly, and I was asked to give them a grade, and I'd give them kind of a C+, and only because I know their record is good and where they are in the overall standings, but it feels like there's an on-off switch that gets flipped. Their grade is great, and their bad has been really bad at times. How do you sort of grade where they are at the All-Star break?
They're doing much better than they were last year when they won the championship. So, I mean, they've had the Kennedy Carter. That's the one thing they're missing is kind of that extra oomph and punch offensively. Asia Wilson's missed a few games two. But look, they come in with Becky Hammon as the coach, Asia Wilson is the star player, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young is the support. That is just very strong at the top. It's the depth behind that I think will come into question, and whether, the aging of it catches up to them in any regard. But I would give them I'd give them a solid B for what they've done so far. But just like I said, I think you trust their pedigree, you trust their experience, so that gives them an edge. But I put them in that mix with all those other teams that I listed that I think are close to the same level.
Can anybody take the MVP award from Asia Wilson?
There's still some time left. I mean, she's definitely the favorite. Kelsey Mitchell, I think, has a really good case. I think both the Fever guards could have a case by the time the season winds up. Paige Beckers could have a case. Olivia Miles could have a case. But right now, Asia Wilson's definitely in front.
Yeah, could there? I mean, look. Could there be some Asia Wilson fatigue? We've seen it with Nikola Jokic in the NBA. Could there be some fatigue potentially in that regard? Robin Lundberg does a great job on the WNBA and women's basketball on SI. You can check out his work there. Also on SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio. Also on Busted Open Radio, the Robin Lundberg Show over on YouTube as well. I appreciate you, man. Odds and Ends wraps it up 10 minutes from now. I can't even believe we're already in the midst of all these college football media days, and pretty soon we'll have games. I was looking yesterday, August 23rd, I think, is the first college football game, something like that. Like, we're a month out. Not gonna lie, I ain't ready. I'm not ready for football to be here. I need a little more time. I need like an extra month. Because it felt like spring and summer, where we're supposed to sort of decompress a little bit, went by way too fast. I was planning to take days off, holiday. Feels like I haven't taken like 5 minutes off, Sam. So we've got media days taking place around college football. The SEC in full swing in that regard. And Greg Sankey out there with the SEC talking, everybody keeps telling me, oh, it'll never happen. The SEC will never secede from the NCAA. And you've got Greg Sankey up there saying, no, this is very real. If this bill passes that they're so against. And it's, much like baseball has this dark cloud hanging over it of a work stoppage after the season ends. Enjoy your baseball. We talk about Jacob Misiorowski. He may get a lot of rest next year. This sort of cloud of the SEC and potentially the Big Ten and, this dissent within college football, Sam, just seems to be hanging over the sport right now.
Yeah, it's a mess. I mean, it's been a mess for a while now. It's not real, though. It's not. And Greg Sankey does this every year. He's done this every year since before NIL was a thing. Greg Sankey, since like 2015, has been like, yeah, well, we're the SEC. We could just leave. We could just leave. You could just be screwed because we'll just leave. Which, again, Greg Sankey being Greg Sankey does not think things through and does not realize the harm not only that will do to the SEC, but also the harm that'll do to him personally. Like that is a move that you make as an SEC commissioner that ends your career. No question in my mind about it. So yeah, it's not real as much as Greg Sankey can pretend it's real. I think, kind of with the other story that we've seen coming out with bigwigs none of this is real. None of the stuff that they actually they do all this stuff and nothing is actually, they're not actually going to do half of the things that they sit here and talk about and make empty threats about. And it's the nature of college athletics, right? It is the nature of college athletics down to the my gosh, you could draw a comparison to like an actual team. It's empty threats left and right because it's college athletics. It's not professional. So it's another kind of example of how we're going to have to learn to walk that line with paying these college athletes and, all these people who work in college athletics still wanting to, have that kind of power over everybody. But it's not. It's all fake. It's not going to happen. Ward Manuel is going to get kicked out of Michigan too because he's a scumbag too, like I've been talking about for years on this show. All these people, they're all liars. They all blow smoke 7 days a week, 365 days a year until they do something insanely illegal and it gets them fired.
What if it did happen? What if, let's say it did happen, because you're just assuming automatically it'll never happen. And you just think Sankey is blowing smoke over the Protect College Sports Act. Let's say it did happen. What happens? What does college football look like if the SEC, arguably the best conference in college football, were to just say, we're going to go do our own thing?
You'd get 2 good SEC football games a year, right? Maybe 3. Maybe I'll be generous and say 4. You want to throw the Egg Bowl in there? Fine. Yeah, you're gonna get what? You're gonna get the Red River rivalry, which is all SEC now. You're gonna get throw the Egg Bowl in there. You'll get the Iron Bowl and Between the Hedges, Alabama, Georgia. That's what you'll get every year. And there'll be 4 games, and they'll do close to NFL numbers. And then you're going to have to be begging people, probably paying people, to watch Missouri play Texas A&M. Right? You're going to have to be paying people to watch Tennessee play Florida. Because, quite frankly, both of those schools are kind of out over their bootstraps in terms of football at this point. So, yeah, that's what the SEC would trend towards. And, it only gets worse in other sports, right? In softball, you'll have everybody come out to watch Alabama and Oklahoma, and you'll have nobody come out to watch Missouri, Tennessee, Texas A&M. You'll have so much struggle amongst all of these teams that aren't 2 or 3 at the very top. It'll turn into European soccer in college sports. You'll have the 3 teams at the top and everybody else just kind of fighting to be the best of the rest.
The Ward Manuel thing is fascinating to me. Why let him stay till the end of Why let him stay till the end of the year? That's what I'm trying to figure out. You're telling me you can't find somebody in an interim role that, if you've already decided he's not the guy, and for obvious reasons with all the malfeasance that has taken place there under his watch, why on earth are you letting him hang around until the end of the year? Like, go.
Because
get
it's the University of Michigan. It's the University of Michigan. This is how they do their athletics, Jason. This is how they do their athletics. And as much as Ward Manuel, awful human being, right? Really bad and not an honest person and just all around bad person from all the actions that he's made throughout his tenure as that position.
Made and hasn't made.
Sure,
you could
that
say both.
Too. Things that he's swept under the rug for sure. Right, but he wins. Right? He knows how to build winners. He knows how to put resources in the right spot to get championships and multiple sports. So that is what the University of Michigan cares about. They don't care. They left Jim Harbaugh employed for as long as they did. They left Sharon Moore employed for as long as they did. They don't care about what kind of human being you are. They care that you win games, and Ward Manuel wins games.
It's true. Odds and ends, we'll wrap it up in just a couple of minutes. Whole bunch of items to get to there. Don't go anywhere. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Tuesday. Tomorrow on the show, David Aardsma slated to be here. Does a great job on Major League Baseball, former reliever and closer. SportsWrap goes inside baseball. I don't know if Kurt Heelan's going to be on the show tomorrow or not. And the reason is, we don't know what's going on with LeBron James. That's the huge story right now in the NBA. Maybe he'll be here, maybe he won't. We'll see what happens on the LeBron front, and we will plan accordingly. All of that and a whole bunch more. A couple of reminders before we go. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, the audio version of this show, available wherever you get your podcasts, Monday through Friday, each afternoon. Audio version, 45 minutes, limited commercial interruptions, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show Monday through Friday. Crystal clear audio. We encourage you to do so. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. That is all things video having to do with this show, including the Monday through Friday TV version of the show with all the commercials taken out. 45 minutes waiting for you each day. Go and check that out. We also have SportsWrap Originals. Did one today on the layoffs taking place at ESPN. You can go and check that out. Also, SportsWrap Shorts are there. SportsWrap Shorts, 1 to 3 minute long vertical videos made for people on the go. Go and check those out. They are fantastic. We also have SportsWrap.tv. That is the new website for SportsWrap with Jason Page. Everything having to do with the show. The aforementioned podcast, the YouTube channel, SportsWrap Shorts, the full-length show. You can contact us through there. At the bottom of the SportsWrap.tv website, you can go and contact the show. You've got a comment, criticism, praise. We read it all. You just want to hate email me. You can do that too at SportsWrap.tv, the place for all things Sports Wrap. Also, the Substack Daily newsletter is there, the Daily Wrap. Go and subscribe to that. And without any further delay on this Tuesday edition of the show, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. They made Messi cry. They said the Mick was crying. After Bill Misiorowski hits the home run. Famous if you've never seen the movie Bronx Tale, there's a scene where Cologino, the little kid in the movie, he's talking about how Mickey Mantle cried after Bill Misiorowski's famous World Series home run. Well, Messi was crying because it may have been his final hurrah when it comes to the World Cup. 39 years old, he'll be 43 for the next World Cup. Unlikely he would participate. What he won't be participating in for the next 2 games is anything having to do with Inter Miami, the MLS franchise of which he is a member. He's going to take a couple of games off. He isn't the only guy taking a couple of games off. One of his teammates taking a couple of games off. Messi started 7 of the 8 games, played all 8 games in the World Cup. And again, at 39, you'd rather have him fresh for the stretch run over at Miami for the remainder of this MLS season. I'm sure MLS would rather have him out there now, but they'd also rather have him out there healthy. Have you heard about this card that's coming out? So Topps is coming out with a 1-of-1 card of Lamine Yamal and Messi. And supposedly it's this famous baby photo of Yamal and Messi that, Messi standing over a baby Lamine Yamal. It's a real photo. It's really cool. Well, apparently it's all the rage, and there's going to be a 1-of-1 Topps card coming out in one of their soccer sets. I'm not familiar with Topps soccer. I collect basketball, I've collected football, I collected baseball. I've never bought a soccer card or a pack of cards or a box of cards when it comes to soccer in my life. Maybe we'll do that one of these days. Who knows? Maybe we'll hit something fun. Odds and ends, LeBron James still hasn't made a decision on where he's going. As we were talking about when we were mentioning the idea of having Kurt Heelan of Pro Basketball Talk at NBC Sports on tomorrow's show. We're still waiting. And his agent, Rich Paul, he's still waiting. And he says they're not going to rush. And now people are talking about it being Eastern Conference teams that are more in the mix. Cleveland, Philadelphia, and Miami that are the potential landing spots. And when you look at the odds on it right now, and that's what everybody's trying to do is read the tea leaves. What do the odds makers say? Miami is still minus 115. Cleveland has jumped in at plus 200. The 76ers and Golden State Warriors are now 5-1, followed by the Timberwolves at 30-1, the Wizards 45-1, the Knicks at 60-1. By the way, the fact that the Wizards are even in the mix, it's kind of interesting. I'm just saying. Those odds according to DraftKings, if you want to go and check those out. Look, I keep saying it. People are growing tired. People are just hanging around waiting to see what LeBron does. The rest of every NBA domino that has to fall here in free agency, the DeMar DeRozans of the world, what happens with James Harden, even to a degree, Draymond Green and his future with the Warriors. There's all these things that still have to sort of work themselves out. And there are guys just sitting out there waiting to be signed, and they can't do anything as long as LeBron hasn't made up his mind. You also have the NBA, as I've said before, waiting to make the schedule for next season, primetime games, Christmas, opening night, all of those things, and they can't figure out what they're doing right now because they're all waiting on LeBron. I have no idea where he's going. at this point. I think we're all just trying to read the tea leaves on this, and we'll see what happens, obviously, over the matter of hopefully a few days. Will it happen this week? Does it happen over the weekend? We'll have to wait and see. It's going to do it for us on this Tuesday edition of the show. We appreciate you tuning in. Thanks to Robin Lundberg for hanging out with us, Sam Yarnell as well. Again, David Aardsma on the show tomorrow as SportsWrap goes inside baseball. Make sure to keep up with us at sportswrap.tv, also on the SportsWrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. I'm Jason Page. We'll see you next time.